Hey everyone, welcome back to bageltcg. Today we're going to be doing an updated tier list as well as a meta breakdown for the first 2 weeks of nationals here across the world. We're heading into US nationals next weekend. I'm excited to go and attend. I hope to see you all there. Make sure to come up and say hi. I'll be with my team wearing our Shaky Leaf Gaming merchandise, so you can come up and say hi and talk to us. But I'm super excited for that. And I'd love to do, this kind of meta breakdown, look at how everything's been performing. I'm also going to highlight 4 lists that I really, really like, and I think are probably the top 4 lists I'm going to be considering heading into this event for what I would want to be playing. You can see I have kind of this scuffed notepad document on the screen here. This is just like quickly me adding up the numbers from week 2 overall. You can see wins, very diverse metagame, I have to say. I'm very happy with how this meta looks right now. The only hero that has more than one win across the NATS is Oldhim with 3, which isn't, like the most dominant performance to make him seem bannable or need any bans. I don't think they need to make any bans or changes right now at all. Meta feels very healthy. So you can see basically 1 win for most heroes. And then you can see, I can delete this because that's kind of repetitive. This one's ranked for top 8s overall. You can see Oldhim got the most, and then we have some aggro heroes with Briar, Fai, and Viserai, all pretty close, 10, 9, and 8 top 8s. Bravo, the other Guardian, coming in with 6, along with Iyslander also with 6. And then we've also got Dromai with 5, Dash with 4, Dorinthia and Reinar both at 3, and Lexi at 1. Very diverse metagame. I think I'll just keep this open on the side here as we go through the tier list. Just move it up out of the way just so we can have it all remembered there. Let's keep it right there. That looks like a good spot. All right, so let's hop into the tier list. Let's talk about the heroes. So you can see Oldhim, I feel like just by numbers, and if you just play the meta recently, you'll agree that Oldhim feels like the strongest hero currently. Obviously, he has some counters with like Iyslander, Dromai, Dash, but I feel like he has play even into all his counters. Since Prism was his only matchup that was basically unwinnable, he's definitely moved into his own and feels a lot more playable in the meta, right? I don't think I would put anyone else in S tier right now. I feel like the meta is way more open than that. Excuse me. I think he is kind of the only S tier hero, but I don't think he's like Starvo or Chain levels of S tier where I think any adjustments need to be made. I think he's just strong enough that your deck needs to have a game plan into him, and otherwise you're going to really struggle in most formats right now. After that, we're looking at the A tier, which I think is almost everyone that we see on the top 8 here, I think is viable. I think the strongest is like Iyslander, Briar, and Dromai. The Uprising heroes, I think, have all really... People are finally trying to figure out these lists, and I think they're really coming into their own as powerful lists that people, are slowly starting to solve. I think the Rune Blades are also pretty powerful. The aggro decks seem to be just doing, good. You can see 10 wins for Briar, or 10 top 8s for Briar, 9 top 8s for Fai, 8 top 8s for Viserai. So all doing pretty well here. And then after that, we've got Dash and Reinar, actually. Reinar definitely hopping up here, as well as Dorinthia. I think I'll move these down into B tier just to kind of differentiate them a little, but I think they're all quite powerful. Bravo as well, actually. I think the only reason Bravo, even though his top 8s should put him a little higher, I think he's just not the Guardian to pick over Oldhim, and I would definitely suggest if you want to play Guardian, playing Oldhim right now. But if you enjoy Bravo, he's still very powerful and still can be, a contender. I mean, he won the Nationals, so he's definitely in a good spot there. But in the B tier, we have some answers to Oldhim, right? Dash and Reinar both have a fairly good game into Oldhim overall. Dash can play a bunch of defense reactions, set up her items, and really just, just control the game from there. Reinar can intimidate and make it really hard for Oldhim to block overall. And can definitely be an answer to Oldhim and Iyslander specifically, as well as Dromai. He only struggles a little into the aggro decks that are in A tier. And then on the other hand, we have Dorinthia, who's very good into those aggro decks, right? Dorinthia wants to fight the Rune Blades, and the Fai and the Dromai. But Dorinthia is a little less excited about the defensive decks and doesn't really want to play into the Oldhims and Icelanders and Dashes. After that, we've kind of got the rest of the meta here. C tier. I don't think anyone is D tier except for the classic D tier heroes, Azalea and Bolton, that until they get some really good cards are going to stay in D tier. I think the rest of the meta is kind of C tier. Lexi's fine, but can be a little too fragile. She did get one top 8, so at least got on the chart. Kano, also got a top 8, I believe. I don't think I have him on my list here, but I'm pretty sure he got a top 8. I think that might have been week 1 though. But Kano a little weakened by the printing of Oasis Respite, and then Katsu's a little shown up by Fai in the same way that Oldhim shows up Bravo. And Levia just needs some more cards, right? So this is kind of where I'd say the meta is right now. We've got Prism down here at Living Legend status, but this is where I'm looking at the meta. And you can see I've got Oldhim in S tier, and then the Uprising heroes here in A tier. And those are the 4 decks we're going to look into now, right? So, you can stop here if you just wanted to see the tier list, but I'm going to look at 4 deck lists that I think are pretty well tuned, and I'll have linked in the description if you want to just not have to tune a deck list yourself, just pick one up and bring it to NATS this upcoming weekend here. Starting with Tarika Patel, our very own U.S. NATS champion, now Canada NATS champion, from Orlando, nearby us. My team's from Jacksonville, so nearby. Definitely played with him a lot. He's a great guy. Congrats to him for winning his second NATS. Now people are saying he just got to win Mexico now, and he'll be the North American champion. That would be crazy, but he's did it again. This time with Oldhim here, and you can see a very well tuned list. He's on Team Dragon Shield now, which is a team that I know puts a lot of work into the game. And I'll have this linked below. This is a very aggressive Oldhim list. The main board is basically everything except for the Rouse, Pummels, Zealous, and Defense reactions. So you should have like 54 cards. And then you either add in like the 6 defense reactions, or you can add in, the more offensive cards with your Go Again or your Pummels, depending on the matchup. Sometimes you want to be disruptive with the Pummels. Sometimes you want to just maximize damage with your Go Again, and sometimes you want to be defensive with your defense reaction. So kind of pick and choose there. Equipment suite, pretty standard for Oldhim. Only thing that you'll notice isn't here is Stalagmite. Obviously not very high on that card or thinking it's necessary. But the rest of the suite's pretty good. Taking out the Pulverizes from his teammate Nick Butcher, who won Australia NATS. So Team Dragon Shield just winning every NATS they play in. But yeah, taking out the Pulverizes, adding in a Thunderquake here. But overall, pretty similar list to the one we looked at in my most recent Oldhim video, with just a little more Go Again, adding in the E-Strikes here. And a few changes. I like the Imposing Visage to find the Hypothermia. But pretty similar list overall. Actually, I think he has one Blizzard instead of the 3rd Hypothermia, but I just like the 3 Hypothermias, which is what we have here. But I'll have this linked in the description. This is probably, if you just want to pick up, if you really don't care about hero and you just want to pick up the best possible deck, I would just play this list. It's great. It's really well tuned, and it took them all the way there. So after that, we have almost definitely the most undisputed best player in the world right now, Pablo Pintor. He is just phenomenal. I mean, he got second at the Spanish Nationals. He had, won the first Pro Tour, got top 8 at the second Pro Tour. I believe he's won a calling as well. I mean, he has the most insane track record. So basically anything Pablo's on, you can bet is really good deck. We can see here we have, a fairly standard Iyslander list. This is a Weather Vane version. Outside of that, it is quite standard. I mean, nothing crazy spice going on here. Just like the Oldhim list, it's just very well tuned. We've got the Rainbow Ice Veins, very powerful card. We've got the standard defensive package. The standard ice package, I mean, there's really nothing crazy going on here, but it's just well tuned. It's just great. And if you want to pick up something a little different that actually can beat the Oldhims and can beat the aggro decks, the only thing Iyslander, I mean, Iyslander doesn't really have a ton of bad matchups. It's basically just Dromai. Dromai is like the only thing you really don't want to run into. She actually is sometimes a bad Lexi matchup, but you're not going to see a lot of Lexis. But yeah, I mean, if you want just a really good deck that has a solid game into the Oldhims as well, I think Iyslander is a great deck. I think she's really fun, and I would recommend this list as well. If you don't want to be swinging a hammer and you instead want to be shooting a wand or a staff, I should say, this Iyslander list is great, and I'll have this linked in the description as well. Moving down the list here, I didn't even do this intentionally, but we went from first place to second to third. This is the UK Nats. Jamie Faulkner's third place Dromai list. Now, this list is spicy. A huge departure from what other Dromais are doing right now, and I think this is the future of Dromai. You know, like, my Dromai list I posted was cool, and I really enjoyed playing it, but it has a lot of problems, especially into aggro decks. It was really having trouble. And even into Oldhim, it was sometimes having trouble getting fatigued. You had trouble getting out passing mirages without them just hitting them. And the really, revolutionary card is this common from Arcane Rising that Bravo's been on forever, Mage Master Boots. Turns out a really easy way to beat aggro decks is to gain life. And the best way to put out passing mirage is with Go Again. So Mage Master Boots does a lot for this deck. You play 3 Tome of Fyendals, the really powerful Majestic from Welcome to Wraith, 1 resource, draw 2 cards, gain a life for every card in your hand if this is played from your arsenal. By using Tome of Fyendal with Mage Master Boots, you're able to give it Go Again, but we also have 3 Chromais, which give an action point, give you an action point when they attack or leave the arena. So you're able to generate action points through Chromai, which often the Chromai won't be popped after, because if he's popped, the action point is neutral. You lose an action point as well. But if you attack with him and he lives, you'll be at 2 action points, allowing you to play this Tome of Fyendal and still keep an action point, which is great against aggro decks that often aren't popping. But if you need to, you can also use these Mage Master Boots to play the Tome of Fyendal against aggro decks. And then against Oldhim and control decks, you can use the Mage Master Boots to play the Passing Mirage with Go Again, and then attack with your Ghostly Touch here for just a ton of damage. Another interesting card is Remembrance here. Dromai was having a lot of trouble getting fatigued by the Guardians, and this Remembrance really helps with that. Helps you grab Dracana Optimi, Tumultai, Chromai, Miragai, these cards that are either really big and punchy dragons or help with fighting the Phantasm Poppers, and put those back into your deck, which is really nice. So overall, just an incredibly solid list. This is exactly the list I think you should... I mean, you could probably mess with it a little, but this is just a phenomenal list, right? This is a very good list, leaning a lot more into the dragons here. You can see we don't have Dunebreaker Cenopai or Spears of Sterility because we're not running our boots, right? We're not running the classic Illusionist boots that will let us pay for resources, Phantasmal Footsteps, to regain our action points. So we don't want to risk that. So we're just playing the Sweeping Blows and the Billowing Mirages that we know won't waste our action point, and then just using dragons. It's really just a dragon-centric deck. I know I'm scrolling a lot here, just kind of looking at everything, so I apologize. Hopefully you don't get motion sick from that. But love the dust-ups, red and blue here. Overall, just an incredibly solid list, so I'll have this one linked. I'll be trying this one out myself. I'm very excited to resolve a Mage Master Boots into Tome of Fyendal or Mage Master into Passing Mirage. I do wish I had won a gold foil Mage Master Boots from one of my pro quests that I won, so I wish I had kept it now to be able to play with this deck, but did not think Mage Master Boots were going to have a huge future. But they seem to be very powerful here, so really, really like this deck. Seems very well tuned, and if you want to play some Dromai, I would definitely recommend playing this list. And last here of the Uprising Heroes, we have, skipping 4th place, going to 5th place here from the UK. We have Peter Ward's list. I think Peter is an amazing deck builder, so I choose to highlight his Fai list here. He was kind of one of the main people behind the really busted Stubbies Fai list with Blossoming and Mask of the Pouncing Lynx. So a lot of faith in his Fai shenanigans. But this list is really sweet. It's using Belittle. And then outside of that is kind of mostly classic Fai stuff, but some really interesting blues here, like Blue Razor Reflex and Blue Snatch. Blue Soulbeat Strike makes sense and has been around with Kodachi Fai for a while, but I really like the Blue Snatch and the Blue Razor Reflex, so I wanted to highlight those. We've got Rise from the Ashes Red here, which is a kind of a new addition to the deck. Red Soulbeat Strike is a bit new as well. Ravenous Rabble. This is really pretty Redline. It feels a lot like Redline Briar, just with the Belittle package here as well, which fits really well into Fai naturally and helps us grab blues against taxing decks like Iyslander or Oldhim when they're giving you Frostbites. Those extra Minnowism blues are really nice. And I think those Epot blues can help as well. So I really like this list. It's a lot of combo potential using Epots and Artivores. And it just has a lot of consistency with the Belittles grabbing blue Minnowisms. And it's very Redline heavy, right? Lots of 0 for 3s across the list. Yeah, definitely not a Phoenix Flame stacking list here. I mean, I think we only have the one Phoenix Flame that starts in our graveyard. This one is just on Mask Momentum. I saw a lot of lists running Pouncing Lynx too, so you could try that as well. I kind of like the cute little Spellfray Cloak here against like Kanos and stuff. But overall, I like this list. And if you want to play an aggro deck right now, since I know I just showed 2 control decks and 1 setup deck, this is probably the aggro deck I would recommend. It's a very nice Redline Fai list here. But that's the video for today. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you're going to be playing in the description, how you feel about this meta in the description, in the comments, how you feel about the meta, if you'll be in Charlotte next weekend. I appreciate you watching the video. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, join the Patreon, and I'll see you guys next time.